Let me tell you about my best friend.
Now we're gonna get in some scary here. All right,
yeah.
guys, welcome to Terrorpy with Friday the 13th and
Bloody Mary. Hello.
Mary. This week in your life, how are you? What's going down?
This week's been weird. It's been a weird week. Kind of feel like I have no feelings. I'm just feeling very empty lately. You say that you have a lot to get off your chest, that you have a lot of feelings.
I too have a lot of feelings. I feel like, though, like, knowing you, like, we're both, like, very emotional people.
Yeah.
You know, though, like, I feel like at times we'll switch who's in the, like, super emotional feels and who's
passing the baton.
Yeah, because there are days we'll be texting each other and we're like, I love you so much, you're my best friend, and then there are days where like one of us is kind of like, I'm empty. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's hard to get through those fucking days, you know. Like, I mean, what have you kind of been like feeling with it? How have you been getting through it?
Honestly, I know, like, this, I'm trying to be on topic with the pod, but I'm being for real. This is the real deal. I have been doing nothing but going through my watch list on Letterboxd and watching a bunch of that I haven't seen. So I feel like that's like a great thing. I don't know.
That's crazy too, because like, I mean, obviously I'm watching more. I already watch a lot of horror, but like I was watching more horror for the show and just started like, I just hit play. Whereas, like, instead of waiting and wondering, I'm just like, no, I'm going to hit play.
That's what I've been doing lately, or trying to get myself to do, because there's a lot that I feel like I want to see, or I'll see it somewhere, and I'll sit and think about it and ponder about it. I'm like, not really feeling about it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just going for it. And if I don't fucking like it, then I don't like it. That's not really, I don't know. That's not part of the experience. I don't want that to be a roadblock.
I feel like too, like you can get inspiration. Like for me as a writer, I get a lot of inspiration from bad movies. I'm like, oh, well, I hated how that went down. So I'm going to take the idea I had in my head of how I thought it was going to go down and I'll turn it into something else.
Yeah.
Got to take the shitty things and turn them into a positive. What's something you watched this week that like you really got you?
We were talking about this earlier. And you said you've never seen it, but I watched Perfect Blue for the first time. And I know that this isn't like revolutionary, but I really fucking enjoyed it, because last week we were talking about dissociation and I needed a movie to like relate to that. And I do feel like Black Swan was a great example. This is anime Black Swan. This is like OG Black Swan. This was so great. It's about a pop star or an ex-pop star. It really reminded me of like Disney stars and what happens to them after they turn 18 and they leave Disney and they're trying to like forge this new serious career for themselves, especially women, and how they get taken advantage of from the industry. But she starts going crazy. She has like a stalker and you can never tell what's reality and what's not all the way through the end.
Oh, shit.
I really related to a lot of that, especially as a woman and someone who does disassociate. I was like, yeah, I definitely feel that. Is this real? Am I dreaming?
Hell yeah. Honestly, too, I think we obviously saw Long Legs and we talk about that on the Cinema Main podcast. I thought about you a lot with like Osgood Perkins movies, because like I do feel like a lot of his like lead female characters kind of do that disassociation. And that's something like I wonder if like he struggles with too, and maybe he's like using that as his medium, his films, kind of put that out there. But like, yeah, I really was like that. Like when I saw Long Legs, I loved the experience of it, but I also was like, I feel like Mary's gonna really love this fucking movie to like just have something out there for you like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say relate to the main character of Long Legs, but there was definitely something there that felt comforting in a way. Also, it scared the shit out of me, which is always a great fucking feeling.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, I love the most about horror movies is like, I feel like a lot of them, they're like, you know, you have to have drama. Of course, there's like goofy fun ones I love, but like, you gotta have that bare bones drama. And that's the true horror, is like the shit you deal with in life. And with that, you go into the genre itself as like all encompassing of like the different genres that you can have in a horror movie. But that baseline is the terror of who you are and what you're doing and what you're dealing with, and having to kind of like face your demons, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love.
That reminds me of something that we talked about on the first episode. What scares you more? Like outside things that you can't control. Does that scare you more? Or does like the inner workings of your own mind, does that scare you more? And I feel like now I'm starting to realize what like really scares me is like the inner working bullshit. I feel like Longlegs is a great example because you're sitting there wondering if like she is driving herself crazy or like working up this scenario because she's obsessed with it. So is she kind of playing it up in a way?
You know, I always wonder like about that. And like, I do think I'm more terrified of what's in my own mind. Mm-hmm. And I think part of it too is like, I was gaslit so much as a child by like my family that I couldn't figure out if I was just a bad person or like if I try my best, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And I don't always succeed. And sometimes I think even like I'll get to the point where I'll try really, really hard to be a good person and like do good things and help out my friends and shit like that. And inadvertently, someone will get jealous that I'm doing something for someone else or something like that. And it really fucks with me where I'm like, oh, you think I'm a bad person? You're talking shit about me. Well, I'll show you what a real fucking bad person is. And that terrifies me, that thought, where I'll like let the demon out the bottle. I'm like, oh, no. Go back in or like deal with it.
I think you knowing, and I have to remind myself of this all the time, we're human. You knowing that that's not something that you should be doing, but still having that feeling, but being able to, I don't know, like reel
identify
it back. Yeah. Like being able to actually, identify it. And I think that makes you a good person because I don't think truly bad people, and I don't know if I like fully believe in bad or good people, but
I mean, like I felt
bad people, they don't give a fuck.
No, yeah. And I need to hear that sometimes. And I get like people will tell me shit like that and I'm like, you're right. And I'll like have to reaffirm myself, but like you need to hear it from your friends sometimes. Yeah. Like it's hard, man. I've had an interesting weekend. So we like, for the audience knowledge, Mary and I both worked at and we're trying to find new jobs. Mm-hmm. And I went to this one place. I don't want to say what it is because like I don't want to start anything, but like it was very poorly run and it treated me poorly. In 2 weeks, I had 1 day off and they were mad that I had that day off, but I never had a schedule or anything. Yeah. So literally I would get up at like between 4 and 6 in the morning and just go to work. And I would like, it was a very like physical job. And I would just listen to podcasts and come up with ideas for this and write in my head. And when I finally, the reason I left is I just couldn't take it anymore mentally. And my friends that had worked there were all quitting in hopes to go back. Well, I quit with that hope too. We don't know when it's going to come back, but it's coming. So I had, leading up to this weekend, like out of nowhere from having no days off to 3 days off. And I was like, oh shit. And I was having a problem like readjusting like my sleep schedule. I've been stressed about stuff. But my buddy, being a very good caring person, thank you, Craig Wharton, I know he watches, he bought me a ticket to this convention that had Edward Furlong from the Terminator movies. And I was so excited because I really thought about it. I got my brain scan shirt on, one of my favorite Eddie Furlong movies. Like I realized like a lot of his movies from the 90s when he was a kid really impacted me later in life. Like I love Terminator, the series. In all honesty, Terminator 1 and 2 are the only ones that matter. Terminator 2 is amazing. I love his Pet Sematary 2. It's goofy but fun and also like has some stuff to do with like mother drama, which I have a lot of. And, you know, I love Brain Scan. Like Detroit Rock City Kiss is my favorite band. So like that movie really hits me. And so I gotta like hear him talk on a podcast and I gotta like talk to him and see him this weekend. He went through a lot of problems as a kid because his deal was the casting agent on Terminator 2 just kind of found this kid on the street. Yeah. And I was like, that's the kid. And he had like a troubled family life and all this other shit. So when he got like out of nowhere as a kid boosted into superstardom, you know, he's doing drugs, he's drinking, and like he was doing a bunch of bad shit for him. And he talks about how now he's sober and like it's so fucked up. People were like trashing him so hardcore all over the internet. Anytime, like TMZ, all those places were like, oh, this fucking Terminator star's drunk again, heroin, he's probably gonna die. Like he lost the job for Terminator 3. Literally, he had the contract signed and everything because he passed out in a nightclub because he was so strung out. For me, hearing all that, I kind of had to face some demons of my own where like, I don't really have like substance abuse problems, but I do feel like I have an alcohol problem.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I used to be just like, oh, I'm the fun drunk guy. I'm gonna hang out with everybody. I love you and shit. But like with everything going down, I feel like the bottle's been more like a depressive.
Yeah.
And like those demons I'm having, I just kind of was like, I think I'm an alcoholic and I need to calm down.
Yeah.
And so that was like a really big fucking thing I had to deal with over the weekend, like hearing that. Cause, you know, I'm trying to find a new job and I haven't even been unemployed but a week. And I'm already freaking out about bills and everything. I got some beers and drank and like passed out because that was, at this point, it's like the only way I can sleep because I'm so stressed. And I was like, man, I got to do that furlong. I need to calm down. I need to like be a better person. And like, I don't know. It was kind of one of those things where I was like, I think subconsciously I was trying to maybe take myself out. It's hard. It's a lot of shit you deal with. And so like rewatching those movies this weekend and hearing him, I was like, oh man, I get it. And that's the cool thing about like horror is not only do you get like a lot of ways to look at yourself and like ways to look at society, but you also get heroes, ironically.
Yeah.
Like, because those people that are in those movies, they get their like 15 minutes of fame and most people forget them. But like us, we like worship them and like keep them going for like conventions and shit like that.
Yeah.
And they inspire me a lot. So that was kind of, that was my kind of weekend where I was like, oh man.
I definitely relate to finding a hero in horror. There's a lot of, let me backtrack. Horror seems to be the only genre that really champions women.
Yeah.
Like out of every genre, it seems like it goes to the fucking nth degree to champion women, right?
That's the whole final girl.
Yes, exactly. So when I'm watching specifically slashers and you see the final girl, yeah, I want to be her. I see myself in her. There's a lot of strength that I feel like I do have in me, or things that I can be better about. Oh, I can find that within myself. I could, I don't know, be better. So
yeah. No, I totally get that. I've always said that too. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, horror movies are misogynistic against women. I'm like, yeah, there's some misguided movies out there, which you can find in every fucking genre.
Yeah.
But like, they really are like, the amount of horror, like, female fans is so legion.
I feel like I know way more women who like horror than guys do. Or usually it is because I'm a woman, but because I can relate to other women in the kind of horror films that they do like. So I don't know. Normally when I talk to dudes about horror, they're like, fuck yeah, fucking Cannibal Holocaust is my favorite fucking horror movie and everything else sucks. Okay.
Do you feel better about that?
Yeah.
Because you know I have a Blu-ray of Cannibal Holocaust on the shelf.
I don't care that you like it. I should watch it again. You said that it was a masterpiece, so...
I think if you watch it without the user version, you watch without the animal killings.
Yeah, I would prefer not to watch a turtle get its head cut off. That's when I had to stop. Yeah. I'll just watch The Green Inferno.
There you go. Some Eli Roth up in it.
Yeah.
But no, I get that too. Cause like, in all honesty, it's summer. I'm so ready for fucking Halloween. I'm so ready for like, it's so hot. I'm so over it. And like, you made a joke on it the last podcast, like, oh yeah, Freddie every day sends me some Halloween meme or some shit like that. You do? Yeah. You are one of like 9 women that I send that to because like my best friends are like female horror fans.
Yeah.
And we actually, I really want to bring this back because I remember when I first met you, we were still doing it, but we don't do it as much anymore. But my girlfriends and I had this thing we called the Carbs and Kills Coven. Mm-hmm. So we would like, there's like 8 of us that would get together and it was all ladies except for my dumb ass. And we would watch horror movies, drink wine, and eat junk food. Yeah. And it was fucking awesome. And we called ourselves a coven. That was the best.
I love that.
Which is probably why I love witch. I already love witch shit. I mean, I'll take any witch shit. I'm always down. It makes me feel good. I don't know why. I'm usually the one. At the end of the Vitch, I was like, yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy, fuck them up.
I hate that movie. Anyway.
Oh my God.
I hate that movie. I love her. I think she's great.
Killing my soul. No.
I hate that movie. It's just not for me. It's slow. I think it's boring. Sorry.
Man, as you love slow burn movies sometimes too.
Some of them are too slow. Some of them are so, I guess, ominous that it's not for me.
No Robert Eggers for you.
No.
Even Nosferatu? The new one coming out?
Okay, it looks really good.
That comes out on my birthday.
So I'm kind of pumped.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not too into vampires, I'll take werewolves anytime.
Yeah.
All right, so moving into our topic for the week. It was kind of inspired by like our talk last week where we were talking about it so much. Which one of the things we talk about we're going to do on each show is if one of us says a movie that we haven't seen or a movie that we both love, we'll rewatch it. Well, I rewatched both It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 this week, and I felt so
really?
good. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so that was kind of the inspiration for this week's topic of horror friendships and horror families, how they're important and why they're important. So we got together a list of a couple movies that made us feel that way. I feel like I already know a couple of yours, but go ahead. Tell me, what is your favorite horror friendship or family?
Favorite? Okay. First, I want to say, with us talking about finding our tribe, I didn't have friends who liked horror growing up, like at all. It was something me and my mom did together. Occasionally, I would have a friend where we would watch a scary movie together, but it was primarily me like watching them alone by myself and then having to show my friends them.
Enforcing them.
Yeah, I did have a friend in high school where her parents are huge horror fans. They had like all kinds of shit. It was just like this, like your apartment inside their bedroom. So they loved that shit.
Hell yeah.
But they didn't like Hereditary. So I couldn't talk to them about that. They were like very into slashers, but I didn't really grow up with that kind of thing. So I feel like finding your tribe is something that I've done recently, especially when I started out. Everybody liked horror. That was really cool.
We gravitated toward each other.
Yeah.
Like, because immediately I remember anytime I'd see you sitting down, like, do you see a new episode of Chucky?
For real.
And like, we would both be like little girls screaming out.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are y'all talking about? And we'd be like, Chucky. And they'd be like,
never seen it.
Or they're like, really? That's good. And I'm like, you don't understand.
You'd be surprised.
The LGBTQ icon that is fucking Chucky and Don Mancini. Love that man.
Ugh. We can't talk about Chucky, otherwise I'll go off. I was gonna mention the show as part of like friendship because I like their.
I was about to say,
I love their dynamic.
Yeah, and especially by like the new season 3, they're like that. They don't have family; they only have each other. Mm-hmm. Like, and they keep together. Like, if you told me at the beginning of like the first season of Chucky that Lexi would be best friends with the other two,
right? She was terrible in the first season.
I hated her.
I love her specifically because her older sister is, oh my gosh, what is her name? Emily Blunt? Not Emily Blunt. Her name's Emily. She's Olivia something is her name, but her sister's name is Emily, and she was in all kinds of shit when I was growing up. And I think she's my age. So I grew up with her, a parasocial relationship, if you will. Yeah, it was just really cool seeing her.
That's the word
her
of the
little
day.
Her little sister in something that I like really love.
I feel that way whenever I see Taissa Farmiga in anything, because I'm all like, oh my god, you're Vera Farmiga's little sister.
Yeah,
and I watched you grow up from like American Horror Story into like now you're also part of the Conjuring franchise. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so dope.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So okay, I do think we'll come back around to it with the Losers Club because that's like the best.
We're gonna get into it again.
Yeah, but so my pick's a weird one. I'm very much the kind of person that, like, if I watch a movie and I find elements that like really speak to me, especially as a filmmaker, I'm like, okay, the bones are there. Like, who knows how many hands are in that pie to like fuck it up and change stuff up. Yeah. Now, I'm a big Stephen King fan. I read The Dark Tower like religion, but I haven't read as many of his books other than Dark Tower. But I love his movies, and I love the filmmakers associated with his movies. Like, George A. Romero is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time.
I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this.
So this book in particular, a lot of people didn't like the book already. So it was kind of crazy to me that the movie got made. But Dreamcatcher.
Never seen it.
Okay, so
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The movie Dreamcatcher is very much like, it has a Losers Club in it. They're also from Derry, and it's based off Stephen King book. But the premise of it is, it's these like 5 friends who have been together like the Losers Club in Derry, and they met a special ed kid named Douglas, but Douglas has a lisp, so he always says, I duddits. And it's like really adorable because they save him from getting like beat up by these bullies and they become best friends. And as the movie goes, you find out them in their adulthood all have psychic powers. And they've had them since they were all together as kids when they met duddits.
Interesting.
And so they go to a cabin up in the mountains to celebrate duddits because they're all older and he can't get out. But, you know, they're all bonded and they want to get out. One of them almost dies. And there's, as the movie goes, you kind of get like a bunch of stuff that like their psychic links are telling them stuff that's going down. And an alien invasion happens while they're at the mountain because a ship crashes. And you find out that the psychic stuff may be linked to these aliens because the aliens are psychic and they're trying to get out of this zone. Now, the weirdest fucking thing is there's a general trying to quarantine the whole place that's been hunting the aliens for 25 years. And he's played by Morgan Freeman. And it's a weird ass role, but he's a bastard in it.
Can I ask real quick? There's a show coming out, right? Called Derry?
Yeah, Welcome to Derry.
Okay, is that out already? Or are they still making it?
They're still filming it, and they did say that Andy Muschietti is coming back for directing 3 episodes, and Bill Skarsgård is cast as Pennywise.
Okay, so is it going to be this and it?
They're supposed to be same universe, yeah.
So is that going to be within the show? Do we know?
Oh, the Dreamcatcher stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know, because here's the thing, like all of Stephen King's work is like connected.
So is
through
this
the Dark Tower.
So is this gonna be like?
I doubt it because people hate Dreamcatcher. People fucking hate Dreamcatcher.
I'm sure they'll make it homage or something.
I mean, if Mike Flanagan has anything to do with it, they probably will because he quotes in Dr. Sleep. Mike Flanagan has Cochrane quoting the Dark Tower by saying "Ka is a wheel." Like, so certain people, they'll put stuff in, but Derry is like the main crux of like almost all of those like kids as friends in the books. But so anyway, near the end, I'm gonna fucking cry talking about it. It's cheesy. It's the first movie I ever watched. I was a freshman in high school and I watched it way after it came out, but it was the first movie I ever watched where like I cried. I didn't have friends until high school.
Yeah.
So like I was very much a loner and a weirdo and like, you know, I think it's weird nowadays how like pop culture has become so mainstream because like, I mean, I'd be reading a Marvel comic as a kid and I get the shit beat out of me. Now it's cool. So there's a point where Thomas Jane, who funnily enough, also in The Mist, this was his first Stephen King movie. He has to go and find duddits because their psychic link is going to help them save everybody from the aliens.
Yeah.
And duddits, as an adult, is played by Donnie Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg's brother, who I think is the superior Wahlberg. I'm just saying. There's a scene where Thomas Jane goes up to Duddit's mom and holds him in this loving embrace. And she goes, he's been waiting for you. He's been so excited. And you find out Duddits is dying of leukemia. And he's going to take him to the quarantine zone to basically help him fight the alien. And Donnie Wahlberg in makeup and like, you know, basically cancer ridden looking, comes down the stairs and goes, Henny, I love you. I'm so excited to see you. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like I just start bawling rewatching this weekend. In the end, you know, the mom's all like, you know why I'm letting you take him out? He goes, no. She goes, because I have not been able to make him happy in such a long time. And the moment he knew you were coming, he couldn't stop smiling and was so excited. And in the end, something happens. I don't want to spoil it, but like Duddits has to make a last stand against the alien monster. And it is like, I fucking cry every time. And it's so cheesy. I know that friendship in there, just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it hits me every time. And I rewound them hugging 5 times and just bawled.
Yeah.
Because like with everything I've been going through, I'm having a problem like putting my emotions out there and talking about them for some reason. I'm a pretty emotional guy, but like I'm having problems with it. I feel congested. So I like haven't been able to cry. I've had like just 6 people die this year.
Yeah.
And I haven't really been able to cry about them. But like in that moment, I was like, I'll cry about fucking Duddits. And so for me, that's like one of my favorite friendships of finding your friends on screen in horror. Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, I'm crying.
No, I knew you were going to go in today. So
yeah.
I prepared. I want to talk about a duo.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Okay. I saw this movie when I shouldn't have seen this movie. I was 9 years old when this came out. Granted, I've watched this as an adult, and now I know that it's like girly pop, like camp bullshit. But I watched Jennifer's Body when I was 9. When it came out, Megan Fox was hot shit. I loved Amanda Seyfried from Mean Girls. Yeah. Like I loved them.
Diablo Cody's finest hour.
Gay Awakening. Didn't even realize that when I watched it. I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. I dropped the F-bomb in front of my mom because of this movie when I was 9. I don't even think she remembers that. That's ingrained in my brain. This movie is what it feels like to be a fucking girl. Straight up. That like unnecessary competitiveness when you're a teenager, and it happens to all of us because we're hopped up on fucking hormones when we're little girls trying to figure out how we feel about things, feeling insecure, feeling like you have to compare or compete with your friends for some reason. This is like, I don't know, but it really is like a good representation of what it feels like to be a teenage girl. I think I watched this with one of my childhood best friends, and it became one of my favorite movies because every time we would hang out, we would watch this movie together. So it just takes me back to childhood and what I thought being a teenager was going to be like. And in a way, like obviously it's very hyperbolic, but still
Diablo Cody.
Yeah. The subtlety of being a girl. It's definitely there. Yeah.
I love that movie. That was like when I saw that movie that year, I was so fucking excited. I was like, first of all, I already really like Diablo Cody. I prefer like her horror work, like Lisa Frankenstein and shit like that, over like, I like Juno, but like as I got older, it got a little.
She did Juno?
Yeah, she wrote it.
I didn't know that was the same person.
Yeah, she wrote Juno. But I was like, she'd always talked about in interviews how much she loved horror movies and Evil Dead. And I was like, Jennifer's Body's her Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Like straight up. But yeah, I love that movie. Like the way everyone acts in it and like how it's the most 80s styled comedy mixed with the perfect John Hughes style of like being a teenager in the 2000s. It's so fucking good. And it's pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like I could only imagine like you and your best friend like watching that and having those feels.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
What's also crazy, the band that plays in it, the like main guy, Adam.
Fuck, he's in a bunch of Kevin Smith movies too. I know who you're talking about. Adam is his first name.
Is it Adam Brody?
It is Adam Brody.
Okay, dude, I'm sorry. I don't really know who you are, but I know who your wife is. They connect perfectly together because I was a Gossip Girl, and his wife is Leighton Meester. I loved Gossip Girl. That's not horror, but fucking loved. Oh, she was in The Roommate.
You're like, it's good.
It's horror. She's horror related in some facet.
Horror adjacent.
Yeah. Can we talk about it?
Let's go.
Okay.
This will be the final thing we talk about in this episode. Let's do it.
Okay. I did not like the remake when it first came out, or I liked it. It was fine. Same thing with the sequel. I was always, I liked the original.
Tim Curry.
Yeah. And then I rewatched the original and it just wasn't the same. We talked about this last episode. But I do want to say that
Tim Curry's the best part.
When I fell in love with these movies, I was at a weird transition in my life. I had just moved by myself with a bunch of roommates that I had only known for like 4 months. I had done a play with them and we would turn on horror movies all the time. And one of my favorite ones with my old roommate, we would put on It Chapter 2 or even It Chapter 1. There's this scene. It's the cliff jumping scene.
Oh, what the fuck?
It brings me almost to tears. It reminds me of this time in childhood where you're watching yourself grow into not a child anymore, like coming of age, but like you're watching something that's going to turn into a memory.
Yeah.
I just love this scene so much. Every single time it comes on, I just get this like overwhelming feeling. It's like a beautiful scene.
You know, it is. And like, honestly, like that's the thing makes me sad the most. Cause like I said, I didn't have friends growing up really. I had like my uncle was my best friend. Watching them like riding bikes and like going out in the neighborhood and shit like that. I'm like, I'm nostalgic for something I never got to do.
Yeah.
And like that feeling, like, and it's weird because like sometimes I look out just at the world and I'm like, man, that shit doesn't really happen anymore. Like, it's such a different world. And like, it's crazy because like that's the other thing too is like I like watching those movies in particular because it elicits those feelings that I'll never have. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I mean, my Richie Tozier is my fucking guy, you know?
Yeah.
And speaking of moments that make me cry in Stephen King movies, the one, because I watched these all back to back, which is probably why yesterday I was like, oh God. But like the scene that always hits me in It Chapter 2, which as much shit as people want to give that movie, I have a lot of fun with it. It has a lot of great emotional moments and the cast is great. But ever since I saw the movie Paul, the Nick Frost and Simon Pegg comedy with Seth Rogen as Paul the Alien, that was the first time I saw Bill Hader do some kind of creepy shit in the movie because he's chasing him down. And so I was like, I remember watching that movie and being like, well, Bill Hader could be a slasher. Which, I mean, like, you look at shows like Barry and shit like that. Yeah, he's kind of getting in his own. But like, I remember when he got cast, I was like, that's fucking genius when they cast him as adult Richie. Because already I'm like, Bill Hader is probably, in my opinion, the way I look at him and love him and everything, he's probably one of the most lovable fucking people on the planet. Yeah. And he's a huge horror fan. Like,
I did not know that.
The scene where the head comes out and grows legs, and Bill Hader goes, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." He lifted that directly from John Carpenter's The Thing, and he showed the scene to Andy Muschietti and was like, "I want to do it exactly like that." So I was like, mad respect for this dude. He knows his stuff. He's nice as shit. From everyone I've heard talk about him, when he talks about horror movies, he loves them. So seeing him at the end when they're all in the pool again, which relates back to that scene of them as friends that you're talking about where they're making the jump in childhood. But when he is sitting there and they're all talking and they're like decompressing from just defeating Pennywise and fucking they go, "Oh man, Eddie would have hated this. He would have thought this was so disgusting." What'd you think, Richie? And he's just fucking bawling. Yeah. And that's another scene. I rewound that scene like 6 times and just watching them all gather around him and hug him so fucking hard. Yeah. And like love on him. I was like chills. Yeah. Because, you know, I've dealt with a lot of loss lately, and like that moment was like I felt so in tune with that guy.
I love that scene too. I always thought that people in comedy really excel in horror, whether you're a writer or you're an actor. It's just that comedy is really hard to nail. Yeah. So I feel like if you're able to do really, really well in comedy, you also excel in horror just because you already have that thought process going. Yeah. You dive really deep.
Well, and it's like you're trying to elicit these feelings to the audience in both those genres. With comedy, you're trying to make them laugh. With, you know, horror, you're trying to scare them. And like hitting those beats are some of the most hardest things to construct for like a filmmaker or an actor. And it's so funny because those are probably 2 of the hardest fucking genres to make, but they're the ones that get shit on the most.
Because it comes with an expectation. You have an action with it. So if you're making an action movie, you're just hoping that it looks fucking cool, right? Yeah. It can be literally anything. An action movie.
Explosions.
Yeah, literally, that's it. With horror and with comedy, they're really hard to pull off because you're already going into the movie with an expectation of either this is going to scare the shit out of me or I'm going to laugh. And if you don't do that, then a person automatically thinks, especially if it's like a mainstream moviegoer, they're going to think this movie sucks because you didn't fulfill what I was wanting from this movie.
It gets the pressure on immediately for the filmmaker.
Just because it's in that genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Bullshit.
That's why we're here, to uplift it.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Mary. I think that's all the time we have this week, but Thank you for sharing with me.
Yes.
And
thank you for sharing. You've had a
a
rough week.
I mean, honestly, I've looked forward to this all week because I feel like this is the only time I can really elicit my feelings and express myself properly.
Yeah.
And I do know. So one last thing. There was a filmmaking horror couple that were I think they're in their 60s or 70s, and they're going to start following the show. And the wife literally, when I told her about Terrorpy, got a tear in her eye. She goes to Frightmare every year. And I gave her a card and everything for the site. And she goes, thank you. And I was like, why? And she was like, because that's the most important thing that people never get right, is that horror fans have probably the most emotion and are most in tune with that. But no one ever cares to talk about it. We're all just fucking asshole Satan worshiping pieces of shit. But we get to show all our sides here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's dope.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week. Until then, I have been Friday the 13th.
I am Bloody Mary.
Goodbye.
Ow. Ow.
Where's my dog?
Oh, she's... Where is she?
Oh, shit.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Hit that notification bell. Subscribe. Leave us a cute little comment.
And tell us your favorite friendship horror movies.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Bye.